Welcome to the Gordon College Fighting Scots Coaches Corner. This is Keith Krass alongside head coach Tod Murphy. I say we just jump right in, Coach.
Sure, I'm all for it.
You just finished your first year at Gordon. What are some thoughts, impressions?
It was an amazing year. I mean, to come in here not really knowing what to expect. It's my first head coaching job. Obviously, I did some research on the team and knew that we were returning a wonderful group of players, and it's just been a whirlwind. It's hard to imagine that I've been here for an entire season already, and I'm already missing the guys. But you know, with the five seniors in Aaron Trigg, Brady Badgema, Jeff Durr, Timmy McDonnell, and Ben Gaskell, they made it a special year, and I think their teammates really did a wonderful job of obviously contributing to that special year.
Now, the season started. We were 4-3 to start the season. What were your thoughts at that point?
You know, I'm not sure whether people thought I was kind of in panic mode, but I wasn't. You know, as you know, in talking to the team all season long, I talked about just trying to reach our potential, and I wasn't concerned about the wins or the losses. It was all about getting to the conference tournament, playing at our peak in late February as opposed to playing at our peak in November or December. So, you know, I wasn't worried about it. You know, we were in close games every single game. I guess the only one that made me a little bit nervous is the Endicott game, where they kind of manhandled us the first half. But besides that game, you know, I knew we were taking the necessary steps in order to accomplish our overall team goals.
You mentioned throughout the year your biggest goal was the team would achieve its potential. Do you feel like at the end of the day this team did that?
Definitely. You know, to put together the string of victories we had, and it's almost silly for me to even point out the victories, because from game to game, I just think that we continually improved, and by the end of the year, you know, we were as good as anybody out there. And you know, obviously we ran against an awfully difficult opponent in Middlebury in the NCAA tournament, but you know, we didn't even play that good a game, and we still ended up losing by 7 to the number 9 team in the country. So, you know, I think, yeah, we did a very nice job of coming very close to, if not meeting, our potential for the season.
Going back to the team starting out 4-3, was there anything that happened in practice or a game, or did anything change that sort of put the team on that stretch?
Well, I think it was after the Christmas break when we came back, and I was a little disappointed, I guess, so to speak, in the conditioning factor of the team. And you know, I came back with a purpose to try and beat them up those first couple 2-3 practices, but you know, maybe I went a little bit overboard, and we kind of had that come to Jesus moment with the team where you know, we told them they needed to go in and meet and talk about some things and work some things out. And I think after kind of meeting in the middle of you know, their needs and what they were looking for, and the needs I had and what I was looking for, when we kind of came to the middle and found that common ground, I think that's when the team really took off. And you know, they began to understand me and my coaching a little bit better, as well as I understood where they were coming from as Division III athletes. And you know, I think that was that was probably the turning point of the season.
Okay. From my perspective, it seemed like the Union tournament was a time when the team really turned things around. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that was kind of it was the first game after the Christmas break, and like I said, that come to Jesus moment in early January. So, and you and I discussed the fact that Union chose to play us in the first round, so they obviously felt like we were the team that they could beat coming in. And we kind of approached it, you know, hoping to come away with a victory, and we ended up winning both and playing very well in that tournament. So I think at that point I realized that we had a chance to be pretty good and have a pretty special season. And again, with the senior leadership we had on this team, I never doubted that we would be a good team. I felt at that moment, though, I suddenly realized we could be really good.
And then January comes along and we start conference play. What were your expectations going into conference, having really not seen any teams play before, really being unfamiliar with the teams?
You know, I didn't have much in the way of expectations. I knew that we were picked to win the conference by the coaches, and I guess I kind of respected that and felt like they probably knew what they were talking about since they'd been here a lot longer than I had. I knew we had a very talented team, and I knew that if we, again, that word, played to our potential in each game, that we were going to be awfully hard to beat. And that's kind of how it turned out. I would say there were a couple of games that we didn't play very well, and we were able to still get the victories, but obviously our one loss against Colby Sawyer, we obviously didn't play to our potential in that game, and you know, we paid for it. But you know, ultimately, I think we probably played about as well as we could for a stretch of games during conference that we possibly could have.
As you look back at conference play, really the whole season, are there any specific games or moments that really stand out to you as signature moments, if you will?
I'll be honest with you, I think Colby Sawyer was necessary. I think there was a moment where we might have felt like we were a little bit better than we were. You know, going into those last 4 or 5 games, I was a little bit nervous about some of those games. That week of Colby Sawyer, we played them on a Tuesday, then we had to travel to Bates on a Thursday, and then played at Western New England on Saturday. So that was obviously a very difficult stretch, and losing that game, I think it kind of opened our team's eyes, and they realized that we weren't unbeatable. And I think it refocused them. And then when we went to Bates against a very good NESCAC team and kind of manhandled them a little bit, and were more physical than a team that I felt was a very physical team, I think that was kind of, I guess, the second turning point for our team. So hard to imagine that we won 13 games in a row and then lost one, and we needed a turning point. So, but you know, I definitely felt like that Colby Sawyer was a necessary game.
And then going into the playoffs, we draw Endicott in the first round, and then Colby Sawyer in the second round, 2 teams that beat us during the regular season. Going to that first Endicott game, what were your thoughts?
Well, you know, I didn't look at it like, oh, this was a team that we had lost to. This is a team that we struggled to beat at their place. I still felt like we had a good team. I knew Endicott was a very talented team, and that, you know, for an 8th place team in our conference, it probably couldn't have been a better 8th place team. But I still knew that if we played our game with our senior leadership, that we would still have a positive outcome. And we knew, or I knew at least coming in, that they had to beat us on our home court. And I knew that the first game that we played them in the preseason on our home court where they beat us, I knew that was in the back of our players' minds, and that they weren't going to allow it to happen again. And did I expect to dismantle Endicott like we did? Probably not, but I think it was an indication, though, of the talent and the skill level that we had on our team, and the toughness, the mental toughness of our team. We just refused at that point to even participate in a game that was going to be close against a team that we felt we were better than.
In the second round, we drew Colby Sawyer, which played very well at their place. I know we had lots of conversations about what we needed to do differently, how we needed to attack them. It seemed like our guys were just ready to play. It looked like they were prepared for that game. It almost seemed like that game was the best game we played all year. What were your thoughts going into the Colby Sawyer game?
Again, I was pretty nervous about it. This was a team that we didn't fire out against, and why we didn't fire out against them, I don't know, but at the same point, I still trusted in our leadership on the team, so I felt like we would certainly play much better here in front of our crowd against a team that had previously beaten us. But, you know, I think we were very efficient offensively that game, but I think our defense was unbelievable. You know, for an all-league player in Shallow to score, I don't know, just a couple of buckets maybe, and Ben Gaskell, the job he did on him was incredible. And Timmy McDonnell even picked him up for periods of time, and then to have Brady pretty much shut down their wing player who kind of hurt us quite a bit, and Bardaglio who hit a bunch of threes against us. Aaron Trigg really stepped up and had a great defensive game that game and shut him down. I thought our defense was unbelievable that game. So it was kind of a statement game. I enjoyed it because I know Colby Sawyer's had our number in recent years. but it was nice to be able to knock them down a peg and prove to our guys that we're capable of winning the whole thing.
Absolutely. And then Curry, the championship game.
Well, Curry made me nervous because they were so different from us.
Sure.
Much more athletic, much quicker. They really didn't have much of an offense. It was just kind of get it to their players and let them make plays. That certainly made me nervous. But again, we won that game on the defensive end. And, as you recall from the very beginning, I said offense will bring people into the crowd, defense will win ball games, and rebounding will win championships. And I think that's what happened this year. We were one of the top teams in the country defensively, but we were number 3, I believe, in the country in rebounding margin. So I think ultimately that's why we won the championship, because offensively we didn't play very well against Curry, but we did what we needed to do to win. And again, that comes back to the leadership on this team.
You beat me to my next question, Coach. 24-5, best record in Gordon history. You mentioned rebounding, defense. What other factors contributed to this, in your opinion?
Well, I've kind of touched on all of them. We had 5 seniors that came into this year wanting to make this a special year. And, when you talk about our goals at the beginning of the season, that they are the ones that came up with these goals to be remembered as the best team in Gordon history. That says an awful lot about the character of those individuals and the fact that they were willing to do whatever it took in order to prepare for each game and go out to play to our potential in every single game. And I think once we all bought into that premise, which came around Christmas time, it made it much easier to go into each game knowing that we were going to go out there and give it everything we had. So, and the fact that they bought into the defense, they bought into the rebounding, says a lot about this team, because I think at times last year they probably felt like they could just outscore teams. I don't think this team ever felt like that, although I'm sure they knew they could, but they probably felt like if we don't stop teams, that's our fault. We can take teams out of games with our defense. We don't generally take teams out of games with offense. So, we had a lot of different things that we did this year very well, but to see the buy-in on the defense and the rebounding, I think was probably the number 1 and 1A as to the reason why we had the success we had this year.
And I think you and I have yet to talk about this. I kind of try to forget about it, but talk to us a little bit about the Middlebury game.
Well, looking back on it, I don't think I prepared the team as well as I should have. We had some of the things, some of their sets that we needed to know about, but we kept beating a dead horse. We kept attacking the rim, which I'm proud of the fact that they didn't back down from their big kid. But the kid ends up blocking 13 shots, and at some point I think you probably need to adjust a little bit, and I didn't do a very good job of adjusting in that game. But I am proud of the way the guys battled back. Every time it looked like Middlebury was going to put us away, we'd make a run and get back into the game. But ultimately the difference was for them, ironically enough, was the defense again. The big kid blocking 13 shots, and Tim Edwards, the Defensive Player of the Year in the conference for the last 2 years, he kind of took Aaron Trigg out of the ball game, and we didn't really have a counter to those things, and I take full responsibility for that. So, but it was a fun ride. It was a tough game, a tough way to end. I think that was probably the heartbreaking moment of the season, but still, I've got a lot of wonderful memories about this season.
And looking forward to next year, we returned some key players in Dave Dempsey, Greg Walker, Austin Benson as well. What are your expectations for next year? What are your thoughts moving forward?
Well, it's a broken record, but my expectations will be to come in here and compete, play hard, play smart, play unselfishly. That's our mantra, and to try and reach our potential. The reality of it is, losing 5 seniors like we did, maybe our potential won't be quite as high as it was this previous year, but we're going to come in here and we'll have probably a little bit different game plan. Obviously, when you have an Aaron Trigg and a Brady Badgema who can score a lot of points, you're probably geared a little bit more towards the backcourt. But this year with David Dempsey and Greg Walker coming back, I think we'll probably be a little more inside oriented. I'm expecting big things out of Greg and Dave and Austin this year, so we're going to need their leadership, and we're going to have a lot of new parts and a lot of new players that haven't gotten a lot of playing time. So, players like Garrett Harden and JT and, David Hammer, who hardly played at all this year, they're going to have to step up and play, as well as some of the new players we're bringing in are going to have to step up and play. So, but ultimately, a year from now, if we're having this conversation again, I can say that we reached our potential. Then that's all I can ask for. And whether we win 24 games, 14 games, or 4 games, it's irrelevant to me as long as we're reaching our potential.
Very good. One last question, then we'll let you go. Have you had your vacation yet? And if not, when are you taking it?
Well, I had a week break at Christmas time, which is very unusual for me, but I've been told I'm supposed to take 3 weeks, and I'm not sure when those 3 weeks are coming. I'm probably going to take a few days in July, and maybe I'll take a few days here in June and maybe in August. But you know what? It's important that we do a good job here and make sure that we're bringing players in. And right now is time for recruiting. So, I don't know when the next vacation will be, and I'm not worried about it. I'm used to getting a week a year for the last several years. So I know my wife would be a little bit upset to hear me say that, but we'll find some time to get away as a family. And, I realize that I need to recharge the batteries a little bit so I can be ready and help this team reach its potential next year, and that's what it's all about.
Very good. Well, thank you for joining us. Tune back in October. We'll bring you another edition of the Coach's Corner. Thanks.